Don't forget, we're going to clap it in. So on 3, everyone clap loudly so Matt can know to edit from this point onwards. The episode. So 1, 2, 3. Am I the only one who did it? Welcome to Always Strikes Last, where we are still working on everything that happens first.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, welcome to Always Strikes Last. This week we got a good podcast lined up for you because recently there was a big GW sponsored tournament in Tacoma. The Tacoma Open, the U.S. Open Tacoma, some sort of combination of those words. And we happen to know at least 2 cool dudes who were there. So welcome, Ricky and Charles. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hey, it's great to have you guys. So, jumping right in. Welcome to the podcast. This is Always Strikes Last, the podcast where we talk about Age of Sigmar most of the time.
Yeah, sometimes with even a competitive angle. You know, people like to win games and go to tournaments, but also hot outtakes, spicy medium that cannot be overlooked.
So this is exciting. So where'd they have it? Where was the event? I know it was in Tacoma.
Yeah.
Now, as a Easterner, please, guys, confirm for us and listeners, like if our understanding of Tacoma is correct. I think of it as a giant, very wet, forbidding forest, not unlike a dank hold.
No, it's actually a suburban wasteland. And it always has an aroma due to both kind of stagnant harbor and paper mills. So you know, it's often considered part of Seattle if you don't know anything about Washington, but everybody in Tacoma would be offended if you said that to them. So
fair enough. Well, all of our Tacoma listeners, if you're out there, we think you're part of Seattle.
I once had someone kind of explain the difference by saying, you know what, I live in Seattle, but I live in Tacoma because I'm not soft.
Oh,
nice.
There's so many stories hidden within that statement.
So it was held at the Greater Tacoma Convention Center.
Okay.
But last year we had the U.S. Open Seattle that was also held at the Greater Tacoma Convention Center. So
interesting.
They just like it there.
Hey,
they just decided to get the name right this year.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. So it wasn't at like the Tacoma Dome. There wasn't like monster trucks driving around while you guys were playing Age of Sigmar.
Nope. Gravedigger was not making a celebrity appearance.
Bummer, man.
Is that the name of a local monster truck? That's amazing.
Yes, it is. He's the fan favorite, but there's a Scooby-Doo truck as well. That's my favorite.
Nice. That's.
I hope you're listening, driver of the Scooby-Doo truck. I'll give you my number. Contact Miles.
Oh my God, there's a whole like rabbit hole there. That, you know, if there are really region locked monster trucks, they kind of be like a local Mothra or Godzilla type, you know, champion for a region. I just love that.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Again, I don't know a ton about monster trucks, but that's how I understand. That's how I think it works in my head. So getting onto the event, so GW doesn't host a lot of these. So they've been doing this U.S. Open series. It was after I'd moved last year, so I didn't get to go.
This is
that right? Was that just a bold-faced lie?
They're doing it, but this is only the second year they've done it in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
I went the first year they did it. I went to the U.S. Open Austin because I had some friends in Austin, and that was fun. That was the biggest event, AOS event they had ever had at that point. It was like 112 people, and then it's been skyrocketing since because LVO had like over 300 people this year. So AOS is really picking up. AOS is really picking up steam.
Oh, absolutely, and
it's great because it's the best game, really.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Yeah, hence the podcast and all of our endeavors. Now, is this one of the ones where they're giving away a ticket to like the Super Tournament if you want it? This is one of those, right? The U.S. Open Series.
Well, Ricky won, so spoiler alert.
Figure the man to ask is right here. Like, did you get the email?
Yeah, I won a golden ticket by winning overall. I don't actually know what that means yet, but it is my assumption that they will contact me eventually
with further details.
With further details on how to get me out to Atlanta and then play again in November out there. So should be a pretty fun time, I expect.
That's so exciting. Well, I mean, not to bury the lead, but congratulations, Ricky, for one, and really excited to see how that goes. Maybe we can do a companion episode in the future about your adventures in the big golden ticket tournament.
I don't expect to get far.
But none of us get to go, right? Yeah. So like, we need that insider info.
Yeah,
we turned away at the door.
Yeah. I'll probably get eliminated pretty early, and then I can just go start taking photos of everything.
Nice.
That'd be good. You'd be our man of the inside. Get live coverage.
Well, that's awesome. So, Ricky, you took in a move surprising no one, Gloomspike Gitz with a whole bunch of trogs. Is that what I'm reading?
Yeah, that's correct. It was I've been playing trogs now for probably I guess since we came back from pandemic, I came back playing trogs, and I just keep playing with different lists and keep messing around with it. And they did another big points increase just before this event, which kind of forced even more cuts to my list. Like, when the book first came out, I got to have Palooza, and I got to have some other fun stuff in there, so there was actually some model variety, but they keep increasing the points to the point where it's just a super lean, kind of boring list to look at, but it seems to have just about everything I need to do well in most matchups. And I mean, I don't think I'm necessarily a very good player. I think a lot of how I did so well was my strength of schedule with fighting other brawler armies, which I think trogs tend to be a really good counter to brawlers and a good offense against brawlers. So I think that was more just me getting lucky matches than anything else. So.
Well, that's okay. Part of this is a dice game, right? Part of it's luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We got Dankle Trog Boss, Scragrot, Madcap Shaman, some Stabas, 2. Are those 9? Or how do Trogoths come? They come in 3s, right? So
they come in 3 packs. Yeah. So it's two packs of 9.
Okay.
And I'm pairing them with King's Gitz so that if I lose 9, I get 5 back.
Nice.
Nice.
Now
I like that it rounds up like that. That's handy.
It does. Yeah, it's really great. The interesting thing though is that I don't actually remember if anybody actually killed the full 9 at a point that actually mattered in the game.
That's what I was going to ask. I was looking at them like, that nothing Ricky plays is just going to destroy a unit of 9 in like one go.
It does feel like an awful lot of trogs, so I'm not surprised.
I got a little shook because Durthu hit me pretty hard one round, fully souped up Durthu, and killed 7 of them. But then that's about all he was able to do that whole game. And then after that, I just kept going. And those 2 trogs, I think I eventually rallied 2 of them back. So it was back up to 4 and just kind of kept chugging away. But yeah, 2 big blobs of 9. So before this list, I'd been running one blob of 9 and 2 of 6.
Okay.
But the points increase left me at the point where I was either I need to play 3 6s or I need to play I need to, I basically needed to drop one pack up, one 3 set of trogs to make up some points. And so I just was thinking about it. It's like, the 9 always does so much work. Let's just see what happens if I just have 2 9s and kind of force people to play against them. And then to make up for the board presence, I included the Boingbrats this time.
Yeah,
and
2 units of minimum Boingbrats. Is that right?
Yeah, nice. Just 5. And those have proven to just be so good. They just give the list a lot of mobility. They even 5 of them hit like a truck when they get the charge. And so having those guys, some games I was using them as screens and chaff because I used to play with 2 units of Stabas, and since I'm down to 1 unit of Stabas, sometimes you got to screen with those guys. The nice thing is that they die, they come back, I get 3 back. So even they tended to die pretty early in some games, and then I'd get those 3 back, and they would still run around and grab objectives and
because 3 is great
stuff. They're still pretty strong. So it's a pretty fun list. I managed to cast Blizzard once the whole event.
Oh, that's exciting. I still have not been able to cast Blizzard, so good on you for actually making it happen.
Yeah,
that's the important thing, most fun thing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that same game, my opponent cast Blizzard on me twice, both times on Trogs, and the second time got enough ones to kill themselves. So and then I think with both rounds of Blizzard, I still think they only killed like 3 Trogs. So it really didn't hurt me that much.
The premises of 46 mortal wounds just doesn't actually it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Well, I think it can be if you just don't roll a bunch of 1s,
I mean, well, yeah, fair enough. And then I'm excited at the very last little bit here, Ricky, is that you've included the Scuttle Tide, which is the best endless spell in the game.
Yes.
For lots of reasons.
And
mostly that it's adorable.
Yeah, spiders.
It is
because
spiders. It is the General's Command trait lets me take that spell for free, and it's 80 points of always awesome. There's never been a game where it didn't do a lot. I played Sylvaneth twice. The second time, I managed to tag a unit of 6 bugs, killed 1 bug right away. Then I had positioned the spiders so that if they moved forward to charge, they would have to hit the spiders on the move and then on the charge. And in so doing, lost 2 more bugs. So they can really just chip away at stuff. And sometimes you roll hot, sometimes you don't. But even then, just the mind game of messing with your opponent on them is pretty fun. So
I think we also, Ricky, have to give some credit to the fact that if there was like a thematic judge running around, he would have given like a big chef's kiss moment to you taking down some bugs with spiders. That feels really
good.
Oh man, well that's awesome. And Charles, you took Heed Knights of Slaanesh.
Yep,
there we go. We're no strangers to Slaanesh over here on this podcast, as you may be aware.
I'm a fan guy.
So I'm interested to hear how this went for you, because obviously these guys came out of AOS Worlds looking like the new hotness, and with Blissbarbs being the most overperforming, the most popular unit in the entire event.
I have to interject real quick. Always the hotness, Miles.
Always the hotness.
Can they win? But can they win?
Yeah. But the list looks like Be'lakor, Contorted Epitome, Infernal Enrapturous. Looks like 44 Blissbarb archers. No one even understands how you assembled that many.
Impossible.
Some Blissbarb Seekers, Slickblade Sleekers, and the Boatman, the Lachon, the Soul Seeker.
He's French now.
Exactly.
See, I preemptively brought Laoshan because I knew you wouldn't be able to say it, and I was hoping to get on the podcast.
This is a shrewd strategy.
I actually have 55 Blissbarb archers assembled.
What? That's got to be some kind of a record.
I think the reason that they're allowed to perform so well is that no one can build them. And so it's just like, it's a gauntlet.
Yeah.
That's it. The hardest task, the real final boss was just sitting at that table for 5 biscuits. I love him, but oh man.
Yeah. So the list, Be'lakor is very swingy, but very crucial. And my list is built to really go first. I almost always want to go first. I'm going to alpha shoot down whatever threat I can. And then Be'lakor hopefully stops me from getting hit back. And if he stops it for 1 turn, that's great. If I get double and he stops it for 2 turns, that's wonderful, which is what happened in maybe one of my games. But other than that, it's just 80 shots at Ren 2, 2s and 3s. And then I have my 1 real hammer, which is the 10 slick blades, which can throw out like 6 attacks each. Ren 2 or Ren 3. It's just a lot of dice. I'm pretty much doing a lot of dice at Ren 2 or Ren 3, which unless you have a 2-up save base, it's going to go through. I don't know if I could kill a unit of 9 Trogs in 1 turn, but I think I could, just barely. Just to get hit.
That sounds like a challenge.
Just to get hit with the other unit of 9 Trogs and die, because I'd have no defense. Everything has a 5-up save in my army, unless they're Blitzbarb archers and they have a 6-up. So the real threat in my army, though, is that Contorted Epitome with Hoarfrost and Laoshan, because the Contorted Epitome has a command trait that's +1 damage, +1 rend on his attacks. I gave +1 to wound on his 9 attack profile as the artifact. And if I get Hoarfrost off, I'll put 3 rend on that attack. So he'll have 9 attacks, 2s and 2s, rend 3, 2 damage, and 2 attacks, essentially 2s and 3s, 3 rend, 3 damage, moving 30 inches and charging with the boat. And it ignores mortals on a 2. You can't issue commands within 3 of it. You can't retreat within 3 of it. So it is just a beast. It could take out. It has taken out any foot hero that I've thrown it into that someone has left out, just not knowing that I can do that.
That's fantastic. Charles, did you give a Blizzard to the Contorted, or is the Blizzard anywhere present in the list?
The Contorted is not a wizard. Wait, yes, it is. I gave Hoarfrost to the Contorted. Hold up. Hoarfrost, because I only have him or them and Be'lakor in the list.
And Bellacor's not allowed, right?
Be'lakor can't take it. So so the Hoarfrost had to go on the Contorted, which is very nice because it's a 2-caster, and the Pretender's spells kind of suck. And so that, and then the Infernal Enraptures sadly didn't do a lot this tournament because I played Khorne twice, and I played KO, which didn't have wizards. And so just really not a lot of utility out of that, sadly.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Then it's just like you're bringing her almost exclusively for her harp shot.
Yep. Which is nice for Death by 1,000 Cuts, which is a battle tactic where I have to damage an enemy unit with 3 units. But
there we go.
Yeah.
That's like we're hotly debating the benefits of Null Myriad over here for the OBR, because like, how often do you really go up against someone that's got hard offensive magic?
Right?
Like, there's a lot of buffs out there, and those are great, but the Null Myriad does nothing about buffs, you know?
I did play Null Myriad, not at this GT, but at the Hokum GT that that Matt hosted like a month or 2 ago. I don't know when it was. And I did go against Null Myriad, and having all of my buffs that target the enemy unit shut down really sucked, because I can give like +1 to wound against the unit I'm firing at. Nope.
Oh, sure. Gone. So you have a kind of it's a buff that targets. I see. It's
a debuff technically.
Yeah, like a debuff.
Yeah.
So I have a bunch of debuffs that I can do in my army that I just couldn't do, and that's interesting.
But that's fair
enough.
I mean, I don't think we can overlook that the Blizzard Wizards, the Magikazis are here. They weren't here a month ago for your Null Myriad debating. But that's for sure.
But it's interesting. Is it better than -1 to wound? Is the real question. You know,
very good question
on everything.
Never. Never.
So I'm curious a little bit, guys. You know, you're at Tacoma. You know, really on 2 fronts.
Presumably.
Yeah, I think they're probably playing there, especially or some serious
Allegedly.
magic happened. Yeah, to get the ticket. But I'm really curious, both kind of what your guys' takes around the event. As maybe like a games workshop, GT versus the kind of more standard ones we see being run elsewhere. Because I did hear that there were some differences or variations that made it a little bit interesting, and also kind of what your path was. Like, what did you guys play in order? How'd it go? What did you feel was like the thing that brought you through or the thing that held you back? I mean, Ricky, I know that you went all the way through, and we're sort of alluding to this earlier with strength of schedule, but I know all of our listeners out there want to know the deal.
Yeah, they want to make this happen for them,
well,
really, yeah. So go for it, Ricky.
Yeah, no, I think as far as the first part of the question, where was it a good event? Yes. G-Dub came out last year. They hosted a really great event last year. And everybody that went gave them the feedback that if you guys come back to Tacoma, we're gonna be bigger. We're gonna have more people here. And that's what happened. They came back, and I think it was probably twice the size of last year.
Nice.
So, props to G-Dub for coming back, and thank you, G-Dub, for recognizing that the West Coast of the U.S. does exist, and that the Northwest is the best part. So
there you go.
There you go, gauntlet thrown. And then the second part of the question, it was there was some last minute changes in because there were so many attendees in AOS. There was the potential of getting to the end of the event and there being, I think 4 possible 5-0s with only one golden ticket. And they, and then of course there's tiebreakers and all of that, but there's also the potential that you could have 2 or 3 perfect players. Those 5-0s could both be perfect with only one golden ticket. So then
sure.
how do you break that up? So they last minute announced that they were going to do a shadow round Saturday night with the top players playing a shadow round that would kind of help filter those guys some more, kind of force some lost records into the top players.
Interesting.
But that shadow round was the tiebreaker, not part of your normal tournament record. So if you were 3-1 or 3-0 on the end of day 1 and a high 3-0,
sure,
you got stuck into this bracket, and I think it was I don't remember. I think it was like 12 or something of us. I don't really. Charles will probably remember more because I think he pays attention to that stuff more than I do.
Mm-hmm.
I let Matt Beasley tell me where to be and where to stand. And
he's so good at that too.
And so the shadow round was, of course you've already played 3 games. You're very tired, and you find out your reward for winning 3 games is you have to stay and play a 4th. Was a little frustrating for some people.
Sort of congratulations, no dinner.
Yeah, well, and here's where GW really stepped up. They actually brought dinner in for those people.
Oh, so that's really cool.
Yeah, so GW they were consummate hosts. They really were. I think the event was very well run. There was beer service that was walking around. There's food service right in the place, and then it's downtown Tacoma where there's actually a thriving restaurant scene, so you could pop out and get food. Lunches were an hour, which is just long enough to go do what you need to do and get back. So so for me, I was dreading that I had accidentally gone 3-0 day 1 and that I was going to have to play in the shadow round because I was exhausted and
sure.
I was like, well, I'm probably going to make so many mistakes. But then they rounded all of us up, and they started going through and just verifying everybody's scores. That was another thing that GW was very good about, was that those top players, they were verifying scores every time they were entered. And turns out that the top of the top didn't have to play the shadow round. Those were the ones that didn't qualify, and it was the lower of the top that would have to play shadow rounds against each other. And I managed to to
Just
dodge
skate
it.
by. Nice.
Yeah, because up to that point, I hadn't dropped any battle tactics or lost my grand strat. So it just worked out that I had kind of a perfect record, and that's what got me through. Got me from having to play that night. So I was able to actually go out to dinner and relax. And then a couple of the club members had to stay and play. And it was hard. The fact that they needed to do that extra tiebreaker made sense. Had GW known that they were going to get this many AOS players, they might have done it as a 3-day event like they do with 40K. And maybe that's what they'll do in the future. Because the shadow round was pretty hard on those top players.
Sure.
I know everybody's like violin for the top players who have to play 4 games in a day, but
no. 4 games in a day is madness.
Yeah, we all love the game, but we don't love it quite that much. So
yeah.
And what's just so interesting about it is being in the middle too, right? I mean, if it was okay, you played your 5 games and you're 5-0, and then there's like a further round. You've already achieved it, but you burned all your focus to get to that point. I mean, the fact you do it after day 1, sort of like you could be on a roll. That could really trip you up. You could be 3-0 day 1, then 0-2 day 2. If I don't know, if your shadow round messed you up or something.
Yeah,
not that would likely happen to anybody in that bracket.
No, I think the thing that messed me up. So I actually lost my 4th game, so I finished with a 4-1. And then was able to be the highest of the 4 ones, or second highest, I don't remember. And that was just good enough with my paint scores to grab me the overall. But
I mean, well, your paint scores are out of this world, Ricky. So I don't know.
Well, it was kind of funny. I'll talk about that in a second. But I think the thing that lost me game 4 was we were pulling into the garage in the morning, and we had already kind of figured out that the pairings were going to be me playing against one of the Lemoys, most likely Jeremy, and that Stark was likely going to have to play the other Lemoy, whichever one. Stark is one of our club mates. And so we're pulling into the garage, and we saw the Lemoys standing by the pay station to pay for their parking. And Matt rolls the window and screams, "You're going down, Lemoys!" And just totally jinxed me. So,
oh no!
But I got to the table. I was making every possible mistake. Jeremy was playing perfect, and the combination was like I dropped 3 tactics, and I was just having a rough morning. I managed to go to lunch, shake it off, and come back and play a perfect game again for that last round. But yeah, it was rough.
It's so wild when you get to these events that you can just I know how to play the game. We all know how to play this game.
Yeah.
And yet I will get to some event and I'll have something going on in my brain, and I'll forget to do a heroic action or forget to declare my battle tactic or whatever.
Exactly.
And then I'm scrambling and I pick something stupid and I totally throw the throw the battle. It was like, that's an easy battle tactic. There's no way I should have thrown that,
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. I knew that I was going to decide who went first because I was 1 drop, which is very unusual for me. I've never played 1 drop before. And so I knew if I just put my Boingrots out on the flank, I could get that easy tactic, right? Did I put my Boingrots out on the flank? No. and then after I made him go first, he just moved things into dispel range. So I lost the 2 easy turn 1 tactics.
Oh no.
And I was like, well, why did I do that? I knew what I was supposed to do, and I just didn't do it.
Oh, that's
and
awful.
There's games where you just totally forget and just do stuff like that. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to try to cast 1 spell because I have a primal die. Let's just hope I get it. And rolled a 1 plus, I think a 5 or a 6. So it wasn't a total, total loss. But I was like, well, now I have to roll a primal dice with a 1. Sigh.
Sure.
So I had to roll the 1, got the primal miscast. So
Oh god.
drag up primal miscast. Didn't kill him, thankfully. But because he's set up to kind of take that and only take half damage. He took 2 wounds.
But then you're stuck on maybe your Mad Cat Shaman trying to cast a spell.
Oh yeah. Well, there was nothing. I bricked the tactic at that point.
Well, why you rolled the 1, right?
Yeah.
It's because you weren't using your squig dice.
There we go. Matt,
that's it.
chat.
A new player has entered the game. It's Matt.
Oh man. Welcome Matt,
sorry about
to
being
your
late.
own podcast.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Charles and Ricky.
Yeah.
We were just going through the potent combination of factors that make game 4 real tough sometimes, amongst other games where we can be mentally not ourselves.
Yeah. I was listening in, waiting for the time to strike, and
nice.
It was just really interesting, Ricky, hearing your breakdown. It's amazing, like I'm going to divert us, of course, with the diatribe for a second. But it's really amazing to kind of hear how much competitive play is different as compared to the other game that shall not be named, which I've been taking a little bit of part of lately, just to digest. It's really nice to hear the decisions or the lack of them are influencing the game as much as they are. And even just an off day, was that a hard loss for you, Ricky?
Oh yeah, that one was that was a major loss for me. Now, it was against Jeremy, who is always one of my favorite opponents. And we end up playing almost every event because they go to almost every event. The Lemoy brothers do. And we always seem to get paired at least, if not one or both. It's usually both of them.
Nice.
And so, even though I was losing, I was having a good time. I think he was having a good time. And I was trying to give him a bloody nose for it, but there was no way. I kind of could have called it after turn 3 when I lost my second tactic, and he had already had 3 perfect scores. So we knew the game was over. He had won it. We just kind of kept playing to have some fun.
They're a lot of fun. They are great players. Shout out to them, by the way. The most hilarious part to me about those two is that they always end up playing each other at a tournament as well.
Yeah, right.
And I love it. I love it because as soon as they get paired, you can walk over and you can see the disappointment face. But it's their own fault because they're both just as good. So, one of them's going to have to step down a little bit. That's all I have to say about that there.
Yeah, they practice. They do all their practice games against each other because they're out in Wenatchee, which is very, very far away from all civilization. So
yeah, I feel like there's a number of sort of Warhammer duos in the area where they always get paired. Like I remember years ago, like Matt, you'd get paired into Hannah and be like, really? Do I have to play? Like, I know how this goes. We don't have to play this game.
Yeah. Great.
It's always kind of the best, though. Like little mini Highlander games going on each tournament, each series of events.
Yeah, recurring grudge matches. You gotta love it. So last one was a loss. Your second to last game was a loss. How was your last game?
It was great. It was against Sylvaneth. Another Matt. Like the meta needs more of them.
So many Matts. Yeah, what's up with that?
Hey, I went by Bob for like 4 years. Try playing in a band with another Matt. You go by different names.
But he's I think it was another a new player. I think to AOS. I don't think he's a new player in general. I think he might have been playing 40K or something before. Somebody in our club had played against him at a small event over in Bellevue, and had said he was great, and I agree. He was absolutely great as a new player. Being in that top bracket as a new player, this was his second tournament and the first, enormous one. He's got a lot of promise. Playing Sylvaneth, no less, which is hard to use in a high skill cap. And Sylvaneth without Durthu, he's actually using 2 packs of bugs, which is even harder to use, I think.
Wow.
So, he was. It was really good, but those bugs just, it's like bugs on a windshield when they hit trogs. He would buff them up, fly into hit trogs, kill 2 trogs. And then strike and fade and not be on objective. And it was, I don't remember, Charles, do you remember that last battle plan? I don't remember which one it was, but I think it was pretty low.
No reward without risk. So wizards explode, I think.
Right.
This is the wizards explode and you can deploy as close as you like.
Yep.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. And so because of that, I was able to start the game with my trogs on objective.
Nice.
Very cool.
And then have my Stabas screening them, so his first turn was spent just trying to kill Stabas. And then because of tricksy removal, I was able to just keep removing Stabas in a way that he wasn't ever able to pile in again to where he really wanted to be. And it hurt. So I set it up expecting to playing for the double, even though I made him go first, if I remember right. Mm-hmm. Or no, we were both 1 drop, and I think he made me go first. But I set it up to play the double, and he's like, "Okay, I want you to go ahead and take the turn." And I was already deployed perfectly for the double, so I just said, "Okay, my turn's done. 5 points. Let's go."
Nice.
My Stabas were already 20 models within 9 of the central objective, and my Trogs were standing on the other 2, and I didn't even need to move. My mages were right where I wanted them, so it was just super easy.
Nice. Got to be the fastest turn ever.
I did one of those to a guy. I was playing my Nurgle, I think, and it was just like, all right, cool. I retreat everything out of combat. We stand here on the objectives that we were on. I'm going to roll all your contagion points or your disease points rolls, and that's the turn.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Sounds about right.
So Ricky, you were saying that dust settled 4-1, but then the painting got it for you, and I can definitely believe it, because if anyone's ever seen Ricky's models, they are gorgeous. I mean, if those are dank, I don't want to be dry. That's all. The painting was fun. It was Matt Beasley had borrowed. I probably have enough gets now for 3 or 4 armies. So he borrowed some of mine so he could play the Squig list. He wanted Boingrots.
Nice. Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that in the standings.
Yeah, so he had a big blob of 36 Squigs and 15 Boingrots, and he was playing that. So I painted up before this event. That's what I was painting. I painted the Boingrots that he used and I used, and a Scragrot for him to use. And then the Friday, the day before the event, I made a super quick display board, which was just like the base of the display board, and then we took a bunch of my goblin terrain and we just stuck it on with blue tack. Called it
nice.
Good. And so he ended up winning second best painted with that army. And then and Kieran got best painted, I think, for the whole paint category. So it was kind of interesting. My second string army got the
best painted.
Nice. And I know he just said it, but for those who are listening, that may not get the gravity of how Ricky just explained it. Like the fact that he put, just plop some terrain on the display board, right? That's the best display board on the East Coast. that was made in the past. What? How long has it been since you've made your dungeon display board, Ricky? It's been
it's probably
forever ago, right?
Yeah, 10 years ish. Yeah.
So Ricky just plopping that stuff down is literally like, oh yeah, this is now going to be in Warhammer World behind in a display case. Good. And he won't admit to it, but him just saying, yeah, we'll plop down this terrain means
some blue tack.
Yeah. This
I
is
can
now
see
the
it.
best.
A casual masterpiece, makes it look easy for the kids at home, but it is very good.
Yeah.
You guys are too generous.
Just wanted to I needed to interject because I knew he was going to talk it down. So, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's really awesome. And I would love to see pictures of the second place painting army there.
I have some quick pics I took of the Boingrots and Scragrat, but
nice.
I'll shoot the whole thing here at some point soon and get some pictures out to people to check them out.
Please do.
So
if we ever get our Patreon set up, maybe we'll include those there too for people to have as a reference.
Yeah.
So Charles, we've waxed poetic about Ricky's mastermind strategy here of having 18 trogs.
19.
How did it? 19 trogs. I stand corrected.
19
How did it
trog.
go? How did it go for you the unassemblable Blissbarb cohort?
Was it a blissful experience?
It was. I went 3-2, losing my first and last match.
Well, win more than you lose. That's kind of all you can hope for, right?
Yeah. I placed, I think, 28th overall, although in the app 26th out of like 99 players. The app. Just speaking to how wonderful these TOs were, the Best Coast Pairing app, which is used for most major tournaments with Warhammer, just wasn't working. And so you had to put all your scores in through the web page. And for the final pairing, even the web page wasn't pairing. So instead of pairing people according to where they should have been, it was just matching everyone to their same faction. So like Hedon Knights would have been playing Hedon Knights, KO would have been playing KO.
Interesting.
And so they had to manually on the phone with BCP do every single pairing, not in the top cut. And they did it in like 20 minutes. It was wonderful.
There was no delay at all.
There was no delay at all.
Yeah.
This is why you don't skimp on your servers, by the way. Just totally derail that. But geez, wow. That's like that LVO debacle all over again, huh?
I remember those 40K players not starting for like 2 or 3 hours the last time that thing went down.
I did not see a lot of happy faces that day, if I recall correctly.
But that's excellent. Good job to all the TOs from GW.
Yeah, it was really nice. Even like it's nice having multiple TOs for the event, because I went in with questions about the new GHB and all those things, and I asked them before the event, and they said, you know what, we'll talk about it and get back to you. And like 4 TOs had this roundtable discussion on what the rule as written was and how things work like that, and it was just amazing as an experience. They were very professional and very efficient.
Having a group of TOs wandering around is so useful, especially in those big events. I mean, I asked a TO at Worlds how to use a garrison. Well, and she knew all the rules. I was like, "Hey, is this how this works?" She's like, "Oh yeah, that's how you do it." Cool. I was like,
"Cool." Well, there are no rules. You pretty much just make up your own for a goddamn garrison.
Hey man, I don't play with garrisons that often.
I will say that my third game, there was a TO watching from like turn 3 to turn 5, and I was getting so nervous because I was like, am I doing something wrong? Did I fuck something up in the scoring somewhere? Why is this TO just sitting at my table when should be wandering around? It's because he was friends with the guy I was playing against, and so he just wanted to see the game and make fun of him if he lost.
Nice.
much better scenario there.
But I had no idea why this TO was there, and I didn't want to bring it.
You're all sweating. You're like, what was happening to me? Did I mess up?
But just going through kind of my strength of schedule. My first game was against Virkos Soulblight.
Okay.
And I cannot stress enough how it was Geomantic Pulse. So the player who goes second round chooses where the objective starts. And that made the game because turn 1, I Bellacord Radiker, so the big beast monster in Soulblight, and rolled a 2 each time. So Bellacord did nothing. Bellacord got into my lines and just destroyed it. And so I had to take top of 2, which means that he chose the objective far away from me. If Radiker didn't get into my lines that first turn, I would have chosen to go second, and I would have won on points because I was just on one side of the table. And so just an excellent kind of example of how the new missions in the new GHB really make it a decision to choose going first or second. You don't want the double for most of these missions now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I almost feel like the game as it is now, you want to be going second, and you never want to take the double. You're like, I don't care if I got that priority. It's I'm not going again. It just seems like going second is such a benefit now.
I love that so much. I love that so much.
All of us high drop armies are all just sitting around me like, okay, what's the earliest we could possibly suffer a double turn? You know, so we can get back on this second train. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a brand new world.
How do I trick them into double turning me on 2? You know?
I mean, how can you play into it, right?
Yeah. No, exactly.
Thing, right? So.
But so I didn't win that one just because, and I completely blame Bellacore. I needed to stop his movement, his charges, or his combat, and I rolled a 2 each time. For those that don't know, for Bellacore, if you roll a 3 up, you choose a unit, and if you roll a 3 up at the start of each phase, they can't do anything that phase. So if he couldn't move, he wouldn't have been in charge range. If he couldn't charge, he wouldn't have been in combat range. If he couldn't fight, he wouldn't have killed Mindless Barb Seekers. So yeah, that hurt, and then I couldn't come back from it. I played the next list, which was 83 Bloodletters. That's the entire list. It was 80 Bloodletters, and then 2 Bloodletters on foot and 1 Bloodletter on throne. I don't know what their names are, but that's what they were.
That's hilarious. That's awesome.
That's someone who saw that model range and said, I know what I like. Do.
Bloodletter on throne. Now I got to look this up. Like,
it's like the I don't know what it is.
It's the alternate build for the cannon kit.
Yeah. It has a prayer that brings back like D6 bloodletters to a unit. And so his whole thing was just bringing guys back, which sadly didn't really work out well for me because I just murdered units for the most part.
I gotcha.
But very nice player, very good game, and it was fun to just go into these, 60 wound blocks of bloodletter. My real MVP was the Contorted Epitome, who ignores mortal wounds on a 2-up. And he had the subfaction where if he charges, he does mortal wounds on a 5 or 6 to hit. And that ends the sequence. But because I was -1 to hit, which is a Slaanesh rule, he was only hitting me on 5s and 6s. So he was only doing mortal wounds to my Contorted Epitome. He was shrugging them on 2-ups. So I shrugged probably 80, 90 attacks with my 7-wound hero just because I kept rolling 2-ups.
Nice.
You know what the moral of this story is stop letting Bellacore let you down.
Bellacore had
get another
targets.
Contorted Epitome.
I do have
fair. I'm excited. I didn't realize this unit existed. This Herald of Khorne on Bloodthrone. That's a new one. I like that the bloodletters in front are even trying to pretend that they're pulling it.
Yeah. I haven't seen
They're
that
just
one
leaning really far over and trying to let gravity do the work.
They're doing like a Mad Max motorcycle type thing, and I dig it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
100%.
So Charles,
Bellacore
probably,
does let you down sometimes.
Probably the most hysterical thing that ever happened to me is I was playing Matt Beasley when he was playing Legion of the First Prince, and I was playing Kragnos, and he Bellacored Kragnos and failed every turn, and so Kragnos just hit his army and destroyed him, and Bellacore did nothing.
That's just what he does. It's
I
like
know.
Sometimes it just doesn't work. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it just doesn't work.
For
It feels
my
extra bad now because it should be so reliable with the multiple phases to get it right. Just roll that 3 at once. Anyway, I digress.
yeah. So Bellicor did work for me for the next game. Thankfully, I was against Khorne again, and it was just like Scarbrand and a bunch of Bloodthirsters and some chaff.
Nice.
And I Bellicored Scarbrand, and he doubled me, and so it stopped Scarbrand 2 turns, and that's all I needed.
Yeah.
And something I didn't talk about is my grand strategy is just to not summon. So if I don't summon, I get my grand strategy. So as long as I can keep up on battle tactics and manage, minimum points, I'll typically win. To deny him his grand strategy, I just had to run around with Bellicor because his was to kill all wizards. And so the very end of the game, round 5, it's Bellicor in the corner and Scarbrand and this like Wrath of Khorne Berserk Bloodthirster like 9 inches away, not able to make their charge into me, which was just very fun as I just fleed.
That's funny. Just Benny Hilled it all around the board.
That's amazing.
That's the way to do it.
I turned 3. I saw what was happening. I'm like, I'm gonna hit that corner, and I'm gonna hide behind this forest. Like, not really, because you can't, but still.
Was that the difference too, Charles? On points?
No, it wasn't. I had him turn 3. It was just to deny him his grand strategy for points.
Oh yeah.
But no, I just
Ness trolling.
Yeah, I got very lucky. That was the ice field. So if you run, you take D3 mortals, or if you roll a 1 in your charge, you take D3 mortals. And my army runs and shoots, or runs and charges, and so I had a very slow turn 1 because I didn't want to take the mortals. But I killed his chaff, and then I was slowly able to go through and take everything out that I needed to.
Am I right in that one? It's if you run, you're definitely taking at least 1 mortal,
yes.
Right? You're taking, okay.
And my squads of 11 can't really take 3 mortal wounds and be
fair enough
with their bravery of like 5 or 6.
Trogs don't care.
Yeah.
Run all day.
Trogs are getting leg day on that mission. Yeah.
My turn or my round 4 was against Nurgle, and probably had my favorite moment, which is I took top of 1, and with all my shooting and some of my attacks, I was able to take the Glotkin off the table turn 1.
Nice.
Which is not what the opponent player thought would happen. He also, I think it was one of his, not his first game with Nurgle, but he normally plays a different army.
So they didn't best day ever because they just weren't expecting it. Huh?
Yep. He thought, okay, maybe I'm left with like 2-3 wounds, but no, I got him down to 2 with shooting, and then I charged in the Slick Blades to kind of do that. And then without Glotkin on the table, there wasn't a lot to really hit me back with.
Yeah, how many points is Glotkin? Isn't it like 600?
He's 600, yeah.
Yeah.
Cheap.
I actually used him in that mission where wizards blow up. And so because he's got 20 wounds, it's every unit within 20 inches of him when he dies. And so the whole board took D3 mortal wounds.
That's wonderful.
That's very fun.
For that week, because we had, that was, wasn't that number 4? Or
that was 4, yeah.
Yeah. No, it was number 5 when people were blowing up.
Oh, yeah. 5 was the
people blowing up.
When we played that one.
There was a cascade that happened. I believe Dale from up in Canada, Dale was playing a Tzeentch player. I don't have the whole details. I wish he was here to tell the story because it would be so good to get. But apparently playing Tzeentch killed one. I actually think they might have actually miscast and killed themselves.
Okay.
And it cascaded and killed every other character, like every other Tzeentch,
because they kept exploding and dudes doing D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Yeah, and it was just they ended up killing all of themselves.
That's beautiful.
And I think it happened on turn 2, and so then they just called the game, and Dale headed home to Canada early because. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then game 5 I was against KO, and I'm fine against the shooting, KO, but the just like mass balloons, I got nothing for it. They're fast. They just do Ren 2 damage into my paper thin units.
The Zach Kennedy all Endrin Riggers KO.
Yeah, and so it was. I would have been fine if one, I didn't forget my battle tactic turn 1, and just it was more units outside my territory, and I just forgot it. And so I'm starting off with like 2 points, and he comes in, and I'm doing fine, and then he makes this 11-inch charge with his 6 engine riggers into my big unit of bliss barbs. Right, it was 11-inch on 3d6, so it was average.
Okay.
And gets rid of my big unit of bliss barbs, and then double turns me and cleans up everything else. So going into bottom of 2, I had Bellicor, my Infernal and Rapturous, and 11 bliss barb archers, which is like 600 points.
Stuff.
Oh, wow.
Against essentially 1,800 points is what he still had.
Yikes.
And I just couldn't do anything. It was I failed my next battle tactic. I failed the battle tactic after that, and then we were done.
It's also insanely demoralizing to have a bunch of stuff killed by little dudes with balloon backpacks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just goofy looking, floating all around.
My Overwatch killed 3 of the 6, and I if I killed one more, they wouldn't have wiped my squad and would have been stuck, and everything would have been better. But just now,
because they just got double attacks between the last book and this book. They literally just doubled their attacks characteristic.
Yep.
Yeah.
From 1 to 2, but like still.
I was going to say, previous book, they were like, why are we even looking at these, right?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit.
It was like, wow.
Man.
And they have balloons. This is the perfect choice. 1 attack and a balloon for a backpack.
That's something else.
Yeah.
It is also very demoralizing when you bring the bow to the gunfight. The gunfight wins.
So what was your record then, Charles?
I went 3-2, but I was a very high 3-2 because I only lost the first one by 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think I got almost, if not all, of my battle tactics except for anything but the last game. So I did pretty well. There a lot of people came from out of town for this tournament, which was wonderful. Like it was maybe 40 people from the area and 60 people from out of state.
Yeah, there were a lot.
And most of us got our butts kicked by the people from out of state.
Oh no. Well,
there's only like 10 people, 10, 15 people from the local area in the top 40. And so like, yeah, no, it was really nice. So I'm just taking it as a okay thing, or like a prideful thing, that amongst the people I normally play, I did okay against.
Yeah, you did great. 3-2, high 3-2 is very solid.
And then just talking about kind of the shadow pairing, someone went 5-0 and placed 9th because of how they did their top bracket. And part of that goes to 2 people just didn't want to play 4 games, and so they conceded their points. One being John Z, who's just didn't want to play, but probably would have done really well in that shadow round. And I don't know the other individual. I'm assuming the person who placed 9th, Benjamin Hoshking.
Okay.
But he went 5-0 and is placed 9th because of how they did the Shadow Realm top cut against. Okay. So the 2 people who placed 7th and 8th went 3-2, and they placed above the person who went 5-0, which is just.
Yeah, so that's a little wonky.
That is really interesting. Yeah, I'm curious to see kind of the math at the back end or how that worked out. But 3-2, really. So
yeah, it kind of meant you had to, and I don't know how many people realize this going into the event. It meant that your day 1 had to be perfect if you wanted a chance.
Interesting.
Otherwise, you know, if you had one bad game on day 1, you just, or even not completely perfect game, you probably weren't gonna make it because,
Well, hopefully next time they, it sounded like it was a Band-Aid that they were trying to throw on last minute.
Yeah.
And like many Band-Aids, doesn't work all that well.
One thing I will say, which was kind of frustrating. So this is the first GT with the new GHB. Like 2 weeks beforehand, they sent out an email saying, "Hey, we know the rules cutoff is before it's technically available, but we're going to use the new GHB." And then 2 days later, they submitted the Battle Scroll update, and they said, "Hey, since the Battle Scroll update is technically before the cutoff date, we're including it because that cutoff date really meant something at that point." And then the day before, they said, "Hey, we have so many players, we're doing a Shadow Realm or Shadow Round." And so each, like for the 2 weeks beforehand, they kept making changes through email, and you had point changes, you had rule changes, you had everything. If I wasn't checking my email, or if I didn't have the new GHB leaks ahead of like when they came out on PDF or whatever it was, you would have exactly
we have
1
no
week.
idea how that worked. Yeah.
You would have exactly 1 week to create a new list with new points, paint up whatever you needed to do if you needed to add stuff, and then hopefully it works in the new GHB.
I mean, that's essentially what I did, and it worked.
You had it. Okay. You painted someone else's army in that 1 week.
Well, I painted 15 models in that army and 10 in mine, but or 16 models in that army. But yeah, I think I know you're right. But I'm one of those players who I just didn't read any of the emails until I even got at the event, and the TO was sending there, "Hey, you need to get in the app." Oh, right, I should do that.
So it sounds like collectors won this one then, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to
Which,
eccentric
if
list building.
If GW is trying to promote one aspect of this hobby over any other, it's the collection mindset.
Yeah. So this is a hobbyist tournament, obviously.
Yeah.
So I do want to ask, and I don't know if you guys went through it. How were they scoring at the tournament?
Raw scores.
Raw scores? Awesome. Yep. How did that work out for you guys? I feel like that's something I'd love to see in the AOS community a little bit more.
I don't even know what it means, honestly.
Just knowing every single point that comes in, and the points cap for the mission, if I remember correctly, for raw scores.
Oh, none of that, like 536 million points to 2. Right.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yes, they were just using the built-in points. Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it takes. It doesn't need all that other stuff. I don't know why we still do that, but
I don't know as well, and I'm trying to make changes.
Probably just
on
a holdover.
yeah.
It's so if you have a small tournament where it's 32 players, you get a lot of people that score similar. And so with this many players and this many games, chances are that you're not going to have the exact same score for every single player. But for someone who, say, 2 players in 3rd and 4th place each got the same exact score, they're both in 3rd. And so that's what those 500 systems are meant to break. Because it's not just your score. It's not just your score, but it's your opponent's score factored in as well. Whereas for this, it's just your score that's factored in, which is nice because it means it doesn't really matter what your opponent scores. You aren't trying to deny your opponent's scoring. You're just focusing on your own. But in a 500 system, you actually have to deny your opponent as much as you're winning your own. And that's more stressful, in my opinion. You have to put a lot more thought into it.
Yeah.
And
I also think it changes the way the game plays, and I don't necessarily agree with PAX changing the way the game plays. So, whatever.
It's a tough, like we've been using the points differential system from Worlds pretty much exclusively here, where your score is from 0 to 20 based on, and it's mutually exclusive. So it's always 17-3 or it's 15-5, and it's based on pure points differential. So playing all 5 turns and scraping for every single point and denying your opponents as many points as possible is the strategy.
Yeah, and that's what Matt likes to use for Sparkle Party when we run Sparkle Party.
Yeah,
but I just let other people decide that stuff. I don't think.
No, sure. And Matt has had some interesting discussions about these type of things in the past, because if you do it purely on that and not factor in like win-loss ratio and that kind of stuff, you can end up with weird things where like you want to get paired into somebody who you're going to crush, you know, and that in a like that at like, you know, maybe at like LVO or at Worlds or at some of these big tournaments, whatever. We're all here because we all know how to play the game, you know, like we're here for big competitiveness. But out of like a small tournament, you don't want to encourage punching down.
Yeah. The crushing of the souls.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's interesting seeing that was used there, because there are so many different scoring metrics that everybody goes by, at least around the area here. So I just found that interesting. Awesome.
I think it's a pretty fascinating thing, honestly, Matt, just to say that if you are into some of those sort of like, you know, conditional, circumstances, maybe it's bad. Like you don't want to have the punching down, but sometimes it can mean you have a refreshing battlefield to go into. If a certain event is running a specific type of scoring system, it almost adds a neat twist to the game, which kind of adds that strategic fun kind of consideration to the list building and the preparation. But I definitely see both sides of the story there.
I just love that it was Charles that broke it down, and I think it's been at least 2 tournaments where him and I have talked about it, and he's been like, why don't we just do the regular points?
I prefer the regular points 100%. I understand why they use the other points, but I don't like doing math.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Which is valid on its own merits.
Look at this guy being good at his arguments. So well formulated arguments there.
That's my biggest. That's my big complaint about Big Wah.
Right?
Counting feels so anti-orc.
Well, it's hard. It's just hard. Math is hard.
Yeah. I always look for my opponent to tell me what I need to roll in Battle Shock, because I'm still always like, I think it's this. I don't know. I lost one trog and I still can't do the math, you know?
There you go.
I'm still there calling it leadership half the time. So
there we go.
That's true. People really
bravery. Has it ever been bravery?
I don't know if it's bravery. Is it bravery? Yes, it is bravery.
Okay. I don't even know anymore.
Who actually reads the War Scrolls, huh?
That's what we have Charles for. That's what we have Charles for.
Well, Charles
I don't like reading either.
Charles uses nothing but 40K terminology when he plays. So.
My armor penetration is a 3.
my Overwatch and my squad. Yeah.
I'm gonna deep strike these guys.
I conflate those two sometimes. I'm sure it's confidence inspiring for my opponents.
It's funny because I'm feeling completely called out on this as well. I don't think I actually remember the name of the rule that I call Overwatch. Stand and shoot.
Unleash hell.
Unleash hell. That's right.
I just always call it Overwatch.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing, so there's no reason you can't. I think everybody who plays the game understands what they both mean.
Yeah.
Especially at this point, because we can't figure out how to separate the two sets of terms.
Well,
sounds good. I feel like we've come to a nice place. How do you guys feel?
Sounds, I feel
comfy.
Okay. Yeah, it's nice. Well, yeah. So thank you, Ricky and Charles, for coming on the podcast and telling us all about. And congratulations to you both in your own different ways. Ricky on your golden ticket, and Charles for winning more than you lost.
Yep.
I did. Look, I did go through. I did go through the
Miles
standings,
hot.
And it was an absolute bloodbath of people we know. So, So I think your point of, all the people that I know, I place better than most of them. That seems like that's a great metric right there. So go with that.
Absolutely. And I'll second, great to hear their respective journeys. Congrats all around. And the insights you both provide are really kind of fun to take into consideration and to think about the future here and this weird new GHB realm we're entering into.
You know what the future is? No Bellacore. No Bellacore. Drop Bellacore, Charles. Drop him.
Staying.
Drop Bellacore. He always dies first.
Keep in mind that I will not bring this list against Matt because he just complains the entire time.
There we go.
Against me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's only because you have 3 Overwatches.
That's fair.
If Be'lakor dies first, then how's he supposed to?
Excuse me,
last?
it's not Be'lakor. Be'lakor always dies in the first or second turn, good sir.
I only need him once. I use him for his ability, and then
It
he just
never
goes to die.
works.
I didn't realize before this moment that our own Matt Davidson was an anti-Bellacorite. Perhaps
I'm not an anti-Be'lakor. It's the same as what's his name? The little prince dude with his sword and his shield.
Sigvald?
No,
Yeah, Sigvald. What does Sigvald do? He comes in, he dies every time.
and he looks great.
His numbers up. We know his.
He does it in
the
assless
cut
chaps.
is his
So
chin.
what's what
That's
do you
true.
want?
We know what he's here to do. We're gonna kill him. He gone. Points wasted.
Man, Charles, I think he's like slapping you with a glove right now. I think
I don't.
I'm just
I don't
going to
know
bring
what's happening
Sigvald and Be'lakor, and
Yeah,
Just
that's all I need. It's
Sigvard.
just those two versus entire spiders.
It's
I
all
have-
Sigvald and Be'lakor.
I have an extra Sigvald. Next time we play, you can use my Sigvald with your Sigvald, and then let's see if we can source other Sigvalds, and then you can have a
Oh man, I used to
beatdown.
have
This is-
two. Actually, I just got rid of one.
I have one of the old ones painted. You could just
Ooh,
put it on
there
his
you go.
face.
well, I have
This
one.
is the equivalent of your mom saying, "Why can't you guys both be Spider-Man?"
I mean, I clearly am
really come full circle on it.
because I have all the spiders. So I'm just saying.
Well, things have come full circle.
There we
They
go.
have.
We can all be Sigvald or Spider-Man.
We're all Sigvald at heart.
There we go.
At some point in our day, we walk around with our ass out. So,
Yeah.
each and every
Yeah.
one of us.
So remember, guys, always strike last and fabulous. Definitely take a moment to like and subscribe to any sort
There
of
we
forum
go.
you're
Yeah,
listening
do
to
all
this
the
on.
things.
Yeah, do all the things, please. We like that.
Yeah, and yeah.
I get the last word.